Hi there. We're going to go over the complicated subject of figuring out a key signature. I'm going to be playing probably about 3 or 4 different chord progressions and showing you what I'm doing in order to figure out the key signature. Okay, so let's just get started. So, very first chord progression I'm going to be playing. Well, actually, before that, I highly recommend that you learn the 7 scales of the major scale. Okay, this might sound very weird, but this major scale itself has 7 different scales called modes. By starting on different notes of the major scale, you are starting with a different mode. If you start on the G of the G major scale, you have the G major. You start in the A of the G major scale, you have what's called the Dorian mode. The next note, Phrygian. Then you start on the 3rd fret of the A, which is really Lydian. Okay, Lydian being C Lydian. All I'm doing is I'm playing the G major scale starting on that note. Next one would be Mixolydian on D. Next one is Aeolian, which is really the minor scale. And then we have the F sharp, which is Locrian. Okay? Learn those 7 scales. You want to learn Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, Locrian. You want to learn the shapes. You want to learn how to find out how to play those scales anywhere, because that's going to help you in a huge way to really figure out the key signature that you're really playing in. Okay? Now, I'm not going to go too deep, but it is a little complicated what I am doing. What you need to do is really know what notes you are playing on each chord, and that will tell you what scale, or really what notes, you could be playing. Alright? So let's start with the very first chord progression. We have a G, a C, and we have a D. And then we go back to a G. 3 chords. And it might seem simple to you, and honestly, if push comes to shove, the very first thing you want to try is that first chord's major scale and minor scale, because that could actually work. Now, if I played a G minor, and I had a C minor, and I had a D minor, I would probably be playing G minor. But we're not playing that, we're playing G major. So now if I try the G major scale, guess what? All the notes actually work. But now I'm going to tell you why they work and how they work. If you look at the 3 chords, you can actually break down the notes that make up that chord. They are usually on any chord, on absolutely any major or minor chord. It is usually the root, which is the very first note, usually the lowest note, right? The lowest pitch, really, the note, or the root note, which is, you know, whichever one is the first note you hit when you start the chord. That is usually the root. The next one right after that is usually the 5th, which is the 5th note of that chord's scale, right? The major scale of that chord. And then you have what's called the major 3rd or minor 3rd, depending on the chord. If it's a minor chord, it's usually going to be the minor 3rd. If it's a major chord, it's usually going to be the major 3rd. That is the only distinctions. If you're playing a G major, you are imagining you are playing a G major scale, and you're playing the first note, the root note, the 5th note of the scale, which is a D, and then you go to the 3rd note, which is a B. So I really have a G, a B, and a D. And that's exactly the notes I'm playing. There are repeats, there are octaves, okay? We have a G octave right here on the 5th fret of the D string. We have another D octave over here on the 3rd fret of the B, and then a G octave again over here, 3rd fret of the high E. So we do have octaves. We're not looking at that. We're just ignoring all that, and we're looking at the unique notes of each chord. So we have a G, a B, and a D. Okay? Next chord, we have the C major, which is the C, the G again, and the E. So those are the unique notes of the C major. We have a C, an E, and a G, but we already have a G, so we only really get a C and an E. So far we have G, B, D, C, E. Now let's get the last 2 notes from this D major chord. And we have a D, an F sharp, and we have the 5th, which is an A. So we get those 2 notes. If you had a piece of paper and a pen, you write all those notes down, list them alphabetically, starting with G, you would have the G major scale. That is exactly what you are doing to find a key signature for any chord progression. Okay, let's go to the next one. This is a very easy chord progression. Okay, we're just going to play G major and A major. Okay, now since we only have 2 chords that we are working with, we really only get 6 notes, but they are going to be incredibly helpful. Right off the bat, like I said, you can try the G major, G minor scales, or whatever that first chord's major and minor scale is. Okay, if I started, for example, on A and then went to B, I would do the A major, A minor scale. But we're starting on G, so let's see. Let's try in G major. And if you listen closely, these notes work, but not when I play this. They sound a little bit off, and it's because I'm playing the C note of the G major scale, and the A major doesn't really like that. It wants a C sharp. Now the reason I say that is because we're playing A major. And if you look at the notes that make up A major, it is A, E, and we have a C sharp. And those 3 notes are conflicting with the C of the G major, which is usually C, A, B, C, or I'm sorry, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp. But the A major doesn't want to play with the C note. We have to move that C up to a C sharp. So every C of the G major scale, we will turn into a C sharp. And by doing that, we get this scale. And it might sound a little weird. It might even look a little weird because now you're playing a G major scale a little bit differently. Instead of going like this, you're actually going. And really, if you put those notes all together, you're actually, what you're playing, believe it or not, you're actually playing the D major scale. And if you want me to prove it, watch. So between a G and A major progression, I'm actually playing what's called G Lydian, or you could also say I'm playing D major. I simplified that key signature incredibly, very, very easily. It seems a little complicated. You could say it's a G major, but not really because of that C note. So now when I move that one note, all of a sudden I'm playing D major. It's crazy how music works. Okay, now let's look at one very last chord progression. We're going to look at this kind of chord progression. What I'm actually playing here is an A sharp major 7, a G minor, a D minor, and a C major. Okay? Let's quickly look at these notes. So, we have the root, A sharp. We have the 5th, which is really an F. We have the 7th note, which is an A. And a D. So we have also we have A sharp, A, F, D, right? So we have 4 notes are there. Going down to the G minor, we have the root, G, and then we have A sharp, and then we have a D. So those notes we already knew. We just getting a G. And then looking at the D minor, we have a D, we have an F, and we have an A. So we're really only getting that D. And then looking at the C major, we have the C, E, and the G. Right? Put all those notes together, and you are actually playing playing basically the same scale that we played before, the A sharp Lydian. Where we're getting that, instead of playing a major scale of A sharp, we're raising that 4th note up half a step, and we're actually playing D minor. Okay, so is it easy? Not really. It's not easy. You want to build up as much musical vocabulary as you can to really be able to know, hey, look, these chords are created by these notes. And if I play all these notes together, I can create a scale. That is how scales work. The notes of a scale make up the chord, not the other way around, okay? So it is very important to look at the notes of each individual scale and put it all together, and you're going to have a key signature. It's not as easy as just being it's G major, G minor, or all that, because there is, of course, other scales. There's so many other different corporations I didn't even go over, okay? But I am running out of time on my phone. So, if you have any more questions, I can obviously make another video to supplement this one, because there is really a lot to go over, okay? So, hopefully it helps a little bit to get